representations are functions. Let's start with the first choice and the second choice. They're both ordered pairs. One's listed as a table, one's listed as actually ordered pairs. But you want to see if the x value repeats with a different y value. So if you look at the table, 2, -6, and 2, 6, the x value does repeat with a different y value, so this is not a function. Taking a look at choice 2, I'm looking at all my x values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The x value doesn't repeat, so this is a function. Choice 3, you would have to do the vertical line test. So to do the vertical line test, you draw a vertical line anywhere through the function. You want to see if it hits more than once, and it does. It's not a function, because really what that means is that the x value repeats with two different y's. Part 4, that's a line, and if you wanted to, you could graph it on your calculator. It has a y-intercept of 1 and a slope of 2. And if you look at that, you should see that it also does pass the vertical line test. So this is a function. So the correct answer was choice 2, which was 2 and 4. Taking a look at question 2, they want you to evaluate. So where you see an x in this expression, you want to plug in a half. Okay, so where I see that x, I'm going to replace it with a half. We have the square root of 2 times a half plus 3, all divided by 6 times 2 minus 5. So 2 times a half is really 1. So the square root of 3 plus 1, which is really the square root of 4, or 12 minus 5 is, I'm sorry, this is a half, not 2. So 6 times a half is 3. 3 minus 5 is -2. The square root of 4 is 2. And 2 divided by -2 is -1. Choice 3. Taking a look at question 3, you would have to realize that f of 2 equals 5 really represents the ordered pair 2, 5. F of 6 equals 5 represents the ordered pair 6, 5. If you want to find the slope, you have to remember the slope formula is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So I'm going to label each ordered pair. Label this one x1, y1, meaning that's my first point, and this one x2, y2, meaning that's my second point. So I'm going to start with my y2 value. So y2 is 5 minus y1 is also 5 divided by x2 is 6 minus x1 is 2. So I ended up getting 0 over 4. So 0 divided by anything is just 0. So question 3 should have been choice 1. Looking at question 4, which statement describes a graph of x equals 3? Draw myself some axes, and I can draw the line x equals 3. That means all the x values of the points on that line are 3. So the line would look like this for the vertical line. This would be 0, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, -1, 3, -2, 3, -3, so on. Now let's look at our choices. It has a slope of 3, that's not true. It's an undefined slope because it's a vertical line. It's parallel to the x-axis, that's also not true. It's parallel to the y-axis, it is true. If you look at the line I drew, x equals 3, and you look at the y-axis, they are parallel, they never touch. It doesn't pass through the point 0, 3, because the point 0, 3 would be up here. Correct answer to 4 was choice 2. Okay, so for question 5, you're being given the equation y equals -x plus 3 and being asked which is the equivalent representation of this equation. Well, we learned that y is equal to f of x. And because in this equation x is our input, this would be the same as writing f of x is equal to -x plus 3, choice 4. For question 6, we're being given information about a phone bill, and we're told that there's a $25 basic fee plus a charge of 7 cents per minute for the number of minutes of calls. They're using T to represent the monthly phone bill and M to represent the number of minutes. So we're being asked to now write this as an equation. So they're all, if you look at all your choices, you have T equals, so that's how it needs to start. And then we're looking at 25. Well, $25 is how much I pay no matter if I don't even make one single call. So if I don't spend any of my minutes, I still owe $25. And then charge 7 cents per minute, so that would be my slope, 0.07 and we're using m to represent our independent variable, so this would be choice 2. Question 7. We have the equation c equals 3n plus 20, and it's representing the total cost of a party is c, and n represents the number of people at our party. And we're being asked which table correctly shows the cost in dollars if we have a party for either 10 people, 20 people, or 30 people. So, based on our equation, c equals 3n plus 20, I'm going to evaluate at these 3 different values for n. So, if I plug in a 10, I get 3 times 10 is 30, plus 20 would give me 50. I'm going to evaluate the cost for 20 people. So now 3 times 20 would be 60, plus another 20 would give me 80 for my cost, and evaluate a party of 30 people. So 3 times 30 would give me 90, plus an additional 20 would be $110. So now I'm looking for a table that has these values. So 10, 50, 20, 80, 30, 110 gives me choice 3. And for question 8, which point lies on the line defined by 3x plus 6y equals 2? I'm looking for the ordered pair that would make this equation true. So I'd have to just plug in for each one. So remembering that each ordered pair is x comma y, I'm going to replace my x in my equation for choice 1 with the number 1 for x, plus 6 times y. So in my first ordered pair, y is negative 1/6. And is that equal to 2? So if I plug in there, 3 times 1 is 3. 6 times negative 1/6 is negative 1. We want to see if that's equal to 2, which is. So my first choice ended up being my answer, choice 1.
Okay, taking a look at question 9, you want to know at what rate does Ryan write his composition. So you have to remember that rate means slope. Okay? So to find the slope, I'm going to pick 2 nice points on my graph. I'm looking for the change in y divided by the change in x. So the change in y would be from 0 to 30. So be positive 30. The change in x, I want to look at my x-axis, so this is an x value of 0, this is an x value of 20, so that would be 20. 30 divided by 20 is 1.5. So question 9, the answer is choice 3. Question 10, you want to take a look at each situation. The correct answer here was choice 3. Now let me explain why. The total wages earned by a waiter who's paid $5 per hour and earns $10 in tips. So if you thought about x equaling hours, $5 per hour should make sense. And then $10 in tips would be the extra money that he would take per shift. So that should be choice 3. Taking a look at question 11, you want to find the slope and the y-intercept to write the equation. So my y-intercept is right here. That's at negative 5. So I'm going to say b equals negative 5. We're talking about the equation. Y equals mx plus b. And my slope, I'm going to find another nice point on the line. My slope would be down 2 over 1. So that would usually be negative 2. To write your equation, it will be y equals negative 2x minus 5. The tricky part about this question is not all of the choices were solved for y. You would have to take each choice and solve it for y to see which one is going to give you your answer choice. It turned out to be choice 4 because if you take that equation, 2y equals negative 4x minus 10, and you solve for y by dividing each piece by 2, you get y equals negative 2x minus 5. It's the same as the equation of the line you wrote. So question 11 should be choice 4.
Okay, for question 12, we're being given the equation y equals negative 2/3 x minus 2, and we're first being asked to graph this on the set of x. So this has a slope of negative 2 over 3 and a y-intercept of negative 2. So I'm going to start by graphing my y-intercept down here at negative 2, and then a slope of negative 2 over 3 means I can either go down 2 to the right 3, put myself a couple points here, down to right 3, or I could go up 2 to the left 3. I'm going to, because I'm using the smartboard, I'm going to use this straight edge, which you should be using if you were drawing this out by hand, making sure that you had a ruler. Okay, and then putting arrows on either end of your graph. So we completed the first part of this question, but then it went on to say, is the point 3, -4 a solution to the equation? So let's just look at our graph here. If I go over to 3, down -4, I can see that yes, that is a point on my graph. So I'm going to first answer the first part and say yes. But then it says to explain your answer based on the graph drawn. So it wasn't enough just to show maybe that you plugged this into the equation. You had to explain it in words based on the graph. So saying something like 3, -4 is a solution to the equation because it is a point on the line. And that's explaining based on my graph, because I'm referring to my graph by saying it's on the line. Okay, and then we get to part 3 questions. This question was worth a total of 4 points. We were being given an equation, s equals ut plus 1/2 at squared, and we were told what each variable was equal to, but we were told to solve for a in terms of the remaining variables. So we're trying to isolate a. So the first thing you would need to do is subtract ut on either side of your equation. So you end up with s minus ut is equal to 1/2 at squared. Now everything that is now happening to a, there is multiplication of 1/2, and it's being multiplied by t squared. So I'm going to first try to take care of this 1/2. I can multiply by 2/1, which is the reciprocal, to undo that fraction, and then I have to do the same thing on the other side of my equation. But notice I put parentheses because I'm multiplying the entire left side of the equation by 2. So now I'm going to rewrite what I have left. And now again, I'm solving for a. So right now the only thing left attached to a is t squared, and it's attached through multiplication. So I'm going to divide both sides of my equation by t squared in order to get my final answer, which is a is equal to 2 times s minus ut divided by t squared. And if you happen to distribute that 2, your answer could have also looked like this. A equals 2s minus 2ut divided by t squared.
Okay, taking a look at question 14, you had to write a let statement. And the reason you had to write a let statement was because the variable is not defined in the question. So I'm going to say let x equal the number of miles. But you could have used a different letter. You wanted to use m for miles, as long as you define the variable. Now we know they charge $1.75 flat rate and 65 cents per mile. So if they're charging 65 cents per mile, I have 0.65 times x plus a flat rate of $1.75. Now Katie has no more than $10 to spend. So no more than would be less than or equal to $10. Now you had to use this inequality to solve. So to isolate the x, I would subtract $1.75 from both sides. 0.65 x is less than or equal to 8.25. And then you want to divide both sides by 0.65. You do that, x is less than or equal to 12.69. It's an irrational number, so I'm just going to write dot dot dot. But if you left your answer like that, you wouldn't get full credit because we had to determine how many whole miles Katie can travel without exceeding her limit. So Katie can travel 12 miles. She wouldn't be able to go 13 miles because she wouldn't have enough money. She only has enough money for 12.69 and so on. Question number 15. I know what rate, which means the slope, is the water being pumped into the tank. So I'm going to look at the equation. The slope is always the coefficient, or the number in front of the variable. So it should have been 65. Part B, how many gallons of water were in the tank when the pumps were turned on? Well, that's your initial value, or your y-intercept, which was 208. Part C, they want to know the volume of the tank for 2 hours. The tricky part about this is that they gave you the equation in terms of minutes. And you would know that because it says up here that time is in minutes.
If you're talking about 2 hours, that really means 120 minutes, since there are 60 minutes in an hour. So you had to plug in 120 for t. When you do that, you should get 8,080 as your answer. Taking a look at part D, the pumps will turn off when the volume is 10,000. So if you run out your equation, T is time, and V of T is the volume. So we're going to replace that V of T with 10,000. And now I'm going to solve for T. I'm subtracting 280 from both sides. I get 9,720 equals 65T. Trying to isolate the T that's attached by multiplication, so we're going to divide both sides by 65. So T equals, this is an irrational number, 149.53 and so on. So again, I'm going to put that dot, dot, dot. But since the question says the nearest minute, I'm going to look at my answer and decide that since the 10th spot is a 5, that I should round up to 150